Hello, everyone. This is our maybe the third presentation on English morphology. This is a continuation of the same material that we started last time. Maybe by the end of this class, we conclude the section about the definition of terms that relate to the English morphology. Part of it could be repetition of items that we already discussed in the previous presentation, but this time mm, they are introduced into in a new context. For that reason, here repetition could still reinforce what you have learned from the previous presentation. Uh, Generally speaking, the English morphology or the English language in general, English vocabulary. Here we have the first statement is saying it's not static but dynamic. Now it's dynamic in the sense that there is always the possibility of producing new words, producing new sentences, even when taken from the Chomsky perspective of generative grammar and generative syntax, that the language has a limited number of of rules that could be used to generate indefinite number of sentences. Here the same applies to morphology, because morphology is, as you know, is one of the linguistic competencies that was advocated by Noam Chomsky. So in this sense, morphology again, then for morphological processes are not static but dynamic, because there is a possibility of applying different rules to generate new items all the time. So the example given here is the word unbreakable. And an unbreakable apparently here consists of three components. The root is the word break, to which prefix and suffix were added to produce unbreakable. So this defines the dynamicity of the language. That if it's static, then we'll end up having just break. But because it's not static, we'll have unbreakable, we have breakable, we have breaks, have breaking, and have broke. So because of the dynamic nature of the language and of the vocabulary, that we can always generate new forms. This concept was introduced in the previous class, and it was defined as an abstract concept because it's realized at the morph. So it is the morpheme in the concept is equal to the phoneme. Both of them are abstract concepts but realized as other forms. Now in the morphology, the morpheme is realized as morphs. Now here, today we'll send today's class center on the three main types of morphology, and this will be discussed in turn in the coming slides. Now the first one is derivation of morphology, and I expect you must have studied this one in your BA program. This is why I told you that I need sometimes, so all the time, I need to know what you know, because that would help me to decide what to include and what to exclude. And because I don't know, then I have to make sure that I introduce all the concepts that form the basis of this course. So the derivational morphology, it is a process that creates new words, in the sense that new words descend that words with new meanings, not just words with different forms, which is the business of inflectional morphology, as we come to see. Here now the characteristics of this type morphology is that it changes the meaning of the word. It changes the grammatical category of the word. So the example you have here is the word happy. Happy is an adjective. Unhappy is a prefix, and then unhappy is an adjective, but the meaning has been changed. Analysis: the meanings has changed from joyful, from joyful to not joyful, but the word class remains an adjective. Uh, Now I guess this one is not. It's not. This is inflectional. It is derivational because here with the addition of the prefix. If now the addition is a suffix, and then that the suffix does not change the class of the word, then it could be inflectional. But because here the addition is the prefix, and because the prefix, as I told you, because it behaves in a way that differ from the suffix, and for that reason, still the process is derivational. Uh, by adding a suffix to the word, the word class changes. That is, we have a teacher, then we had er, we have become a teach. We add er, we end up having teacher, and here the word class changes. Now, it's doubtful if unhappy is derivational. I have to mention this because derivation, as this example indicates, derivation changes the word class. But because unhappy is not, so please ignore the previous example of unhappy, because unhappy does not change the word class because it was an adjective, and it has become an adjective after the addition of the prefix. But that isn't so, and I just ask you to ignore that example. Now, the best example we have here is teacher, because here teacher, the suffix er changes the word class from a verb to a noun. For that reason, it is derivational. Uh, Also here we have quick, adjective, quickly, adverb, and the word class has changed. And this is the sense in which it is derivation. The crucial point is that derivational morphology is not entirely predictable, because sometimes there are things you cannot predict from the structure, particularly by adding the er. Produces what you might think of as as an agent who does something. I mean, the one who does X, the worker, the person who works, the runner, the person who runs. But you cannot say the same about cooker by saying that it is a person who cooks, because there is no person that is a cooker. Is a cook. You see, so for that reason, you have to be careful in the application of some morphemes or some suffixes to produce to have the same effect as other suffixes. Summary of the derivation morphology: the function, it creates new lexemes, dictionary words, change the meaning or word class, usually closer to the root than the inflectional suffixes. We have happy, unhappy. This one I told you to ignore. So we have teach, teacher. This is example that illustrate the point we are discussing now. As to the inflectional morphology, the morphology modified the word to express different grammatical categories without changing you don't add a new word. So the key characteristics that it does not change the core meaning or the word class. Is grammatically required by the syntax of the sentence. And now the 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 request, I mean, or the fact that we need a word with this form is something that is determined by the syntax. So the syntax adds an s to the verb if the subject is a verb, and delete that s in a sentence expressing present if the subject is plural. So the syntax decides whether you have a the first suffix s or not. Uh, Inflectional morphology. Statistically, there are 8 inflectional morphemes in English, and we have the list here. We have the s, the plural s, the possessive s, the third person s, the past tense ed, uh, the the past participle en, the past participle ing, continuous, the comparative er, and the superlative est. So together they form the number of morphemes is limited that could be added to words, not to change their word classes, but to achieve agreement between the subject and the verb, and sometimes to achieve comparative or comparison between different aspects. So each one of these 8 suffixes has its own function. So it could be as agreement as I have just mentioned, or you could sometimes to generate comparatives and superlative forms. So what's crucial is that consider the word cats in this new. So apparently the cat is not a new word. The answer is no. It was a noun and now it is a noun. So but inflected to indicate number. So the syntactic structure of the sentence requires it, because say the cats are, but the cat is. So adding the s here is something that is required by the syntax. Still, summary of fractional morphology. The function express grammatical relationships, tense, number, case, aspect, degree, effect does not change the word. The meaning does not change the meaning of the word, nor does it change the word class. Always at the edge of the word after derivational suffixes. And it occurs at the end of the word. It occurs after, if we have derivational suffix, then it will be added after the derivational suffix. It occurs at the very end of the word. Compare to derivational friend, noun, friendly adjective, friend noun, friends noun. So here in the first example, we have difference in word class, which we don't have in the second example. So this is a crucial difference between morphology, inflectional and derivational morphology. Now the third type of morphology is zero morphology. The zero morphology is the process in which you cannot say that the word form has changed due to the addition of a suffix or prefix, but there are other changes that occur in the word without necessary and then they behave in a way that is different from the words that could undergo inflection or derivation. So our final is fascinating and visible zero morphology, also known as conversion or null derivation. This occurs when a word changes its grammatical category or function without adding any morphological or orthographic affix, a prefix, or suffix. The change is marked by zero morpheme, a theoretical affix that is present in. We'll have examples to illustrate. So I need to Google this. Google was a proper noun, and here it's used as a verb. So the word class has changed without adding any derivational morpheme or inflectional morpheme. We chair the meeting. Also, here the word chair is a noun but has been used as a verb. Without, here there is no derivation. There is no derivation to change the word class from verb to noun. The verb to noun. This was a good read. Also here, read is a verb that's used as a noun. Also, you have swim, swarm. Also, there's no derivation, no inflection, or no particularly no inflection to change the word form. from present to past. So their morphology shows us that morphological change is not just about adding things, it's about change in the word syntactic and semantic behavior. In all these cases, the word class changes. So it's a type of derivation morphology, but it operates silently because you cannot observe any change at the end of at the edge of the word. Putting all it together, the order of morphemes, rule of thumb, you have the base form followed by derivational suffix followed by inflectional suffix. So by saying that it occurs at the edge of the word, it means it's the last the suffix that occurs. If the words happen to have a derivational morpheme, then it that one, I mean, the inflectional occurs after the derivational. So you see, in nationalization, we have nation, nationalized, nationalization. So it was nationalized, a verb converted to noun by, as nationalization, then adding an S, and the S is the inflection. So root is nation. The derivational suffix when al national changes to adjective, then ize nationalized changes to the verb, and then ation nationalization changes to the noun again, and then finally adding an S. So as you see, the S occurs at the edge of the word. To conclude, English morphology is a powerful, sufficient, efficient system that allows us to generate an infinite number of words. That is why it was defined at the beginning as being dynamic rather than uh, being static. Derivation morphology of this is said to be the factory of new words. It changes meanings, changing a meaning and often change the word class. Beauty, beautiful. Inflectional, it saves some grammatical functions relating to the number, the gender, the tense, without changing the word class. And then the zero morphology here, the word changes its behavior without changing its form necessarily. Understanding these distinctions helps us appreciate the ingenuity of the language. It's not random collection of words, but highly structured, hierarchical system of meaning. When you next encounter a new word, try to break it down. Is it derived form? Is it inflected form for a specific grammatical purpose? By answering these two questions, you unlock the deep understanding of how the English works as a result of being dynamic language. Thank you.